Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Susan Fawermi, and today I'll be teaching you how to cut a freehand jacket. So the first thing that you do is to get the length of your jacket. For this jacket I'll be using length 28. So I'll mark that point. I'll add 1 inch for seam allowance. Then the next thing I'll do, I'll rule out 2.5 inch here. So connect that line. Then after measuring the 2.5 inch here, this becomes your startup line. Then from here, I'll measure my shoulder, half shoulder measurement plus ½ inch, that's 8.5. Then I'll do a shoulder slope of 1.5. Then my neck roundness 3 inch. So I'll connect. Then I'll measure 5 inches down. So this is part of my armhole depth. So 5 inches. Then from this point, I'll measure 8, which is my shoulder measurement. Then I'll connect. So the next thing I'll do, I'll measure my shoulder to nipple point, which is 12.5. Then shoulder to under bust 16. Then I'll get my shape line. The shape line is 17. I'll mark it around here. So let me rule this line. So the next thing I'll do, I'll get my nipple to nipple measurement. Now because we're doing freehand, we'll add our allowance for joining as we'll measure. So 4.5 plus ½ inch, that's 5, mark. Then here you bring under the bust, you do your exact nipple to nipple measurement. You come here and do the same, 5. So the next thing I'll do, I'll take a 1 inch dart from under the bust, then connect. Then I'll also connect this point. With a slightly curved line. Then also I'll measure 1 inch dart here and go out 1 inch. Then connect to the nipple point. Then connect to the under bust. Now the reason for taking this size of dart, because we don't want our bust line to be protruding, so you just leave it a little bit out. So from this point I'll take 3 inches down. This completes my armhole measurement. So just make like an angle, then measure 1 inch at the midpoint so you can connect your armhole. So on that level, I'll get my bust. Now, from this point, the bust is 44. So 44, that's 11 plus 3. So I'll get 14. Then on the shape line, I'll mark the waist is 36. So 36 is 9. So 9 plus 9 plus this 1 inch allowance, 10. 10 plus 2.5, that's 12.5. So this is, mark that point. Then you get to the, so you get your hip measurement. Hip measurement is 46. 46 is 11.5. If 11.5 plus this 1 inch, that's 12.5. 12.5 plus 2, that's 14.5. So mark that point. So I'm going to be connecting. So connect. Then I'll make a contour allowance of 1 inch here, which is already here. So I'll connect it to this point. So that's it for the body. I'll come back to the neck. So my depth is 3 inches also, so I'll connect. Now connect this point to the startup. Then measure 1 inch down. So whatever your neck is, just measure 1 inch down. Now we'll be using up this 2.5 inch to create our lapel. So since it's supposed to be 2, so because we're having sewing allowance already, so it will be 2.5. Then locate your break point. For this half length is the shoulder to navel point is 22. Come up 2 inches and mark that point. So this becomes your break point where your button will be. So the next thing I'll do, I'll measure 1 inch out this way. Then I'll connect downwards with the 1 inch like this. Then connect this point to meet this point. So that's it for now. For this down part, you can make it round this way, just to give it a look, or you can leave it straight that way, but I'll be making it round like this. So this is the front of the jacket. So I'll be cutting it now. Okay. Now this is what it looks like. So the lapel will be like this, down to your, okay. So I'll be cutting the back. Now for the back, get the length of your jacket. I use 28 for the front, I'll use 27 for the back, so minus 1 inch. Then add your seam allowance. So I'll rule my line. Then I'll measure out 2 inches from the center back and connect. Now this is it. Then I'll get my shoulder to my nape to waist measurement. So this is it, 17. I'll mark that point. Then I'll measure half shoulder measurement plus half inch and mark. Then I'll do my shoulder slope of 1.5. Then I'll get the neck roundness, that's 3. Then I'll make 1 inch here. Then I connect the shoulder slope. The next thing I'll do, I'll mark 5-inch depth here and connect. So here should also be the shoulder measurement, which is 8.5 that I used here. So I'll come down to this point, to my nape to waist measurement. Then I'll take my that to that measurement plus 1/2 inch seam allowance, which is 5. I'll mark that point. Then I'll come in 1/2 inch here and I'll go in 1/2 inch here. I can also use 1.5 inch that allowance, but this is still okay. Then I'll connect with a curved line to the first that leg. Then come here, I'll measure the 5 inches I took there also. Then connect. So we connect the dart legs. Then connect this point. So you have your dart in here. Then the next thing I'll do, I'll measure 1 inch out and connect. Then from that point, I'll measure my 3 inches to complete my dart, my armhole depth. So mark, you can do the angle, then measure 1 inch out to get your curve. So the next thing on this level, I'll measure the bust. The bust is 44. For the back, I'm using 2 inches. So have a quarter bust measurement plus 2 inches, which is 13. Mark that point. For the front, I use 3. For the back, I'm using 2. Then here, I'm going to measure the waist. The waist is 9. 9 plus this 1 inch, which makes it 10. 10 plus 2.5, that's 12.5. So 12.5. So we mark that point. Then come down here. From this point, you measure your hip. The hip is 11.5 plus 2 inch. That's 13.5. So mark that point. So I'll be connecting. Connect here to here. Then you make a contour allowance of 1 inch, which is here already. Then connect to the back. Then I'll come here. I'll add 1/2 inch allowance for joining here back. Here I'll maintain this point, then I'll use up the 2 inches. So I'll be connecting this way. Now this is to make the back relax and have a good fit, so you don't have any gaping here. So this is the back. So I'll be cutting it out now. Now this is what the back looks like. So I'll be cutting the collar now. Now for the collar, I'm going to be using paper first. Now for the collar, measure out this way, 3.5 inch, mark that point, then connect. Okay, then draw out the line from here, like so. Connect, then measure 3 inches here and mark and connect to the straight line. Then come here and measure 2-inch mark. Then measure 2-inch out this way and mark. Now make sure that you have 2-inch or 1.5-inch in between. So it can also be 1.75. Then draw your line. Then the next thing, connect here with a slightly curved line, just like this. So you see, you've gotten the shape of your collar. Here is unfold. So I'll be cutting out and I'll use the paper to cut the fabric. So this is the collar. So I'll be cutting it out. So just fold okay. Just fold this way and add sewing allowance round it. So you're adding 1/2-inch sewing allowance. So this is what it looks like. So when you fix this part is where we enter into the neck. So you have something like this. This is where we enter into the neck. So you have something like this. To enter into the neck like this, and you have your lapel. So to form your collar like this. Then the next I'll be cutting out the sleeve. And note this particular one, you need to cut 4 pieces of it. So you have 2 now. You cut another 2, so that when you turn and it flips this way, the fabric will show. So here you don't put lining on this one. You put the fabric, or except you want to use a plain fabric, then you cut it with plain, so that when you flip, a plain fabric will be showing. Now for the sleeve, fold and measure the length of your sleeve. Check if this is, now the bicep is 16, which is 8. I'm going to add 1.5 inch. So that will be 9 and 9.5. When sewing, you sew 1/2 inch. The 1 inch is for ease, because jacket sleeves are not supposed to be tight. So I'll measure out. The sleeve is 25. You add 1 inch for turning it in. No, add 1.5, so that you sew with 1/2 inch and 1 inch will be inside. So this is the length of my sleeve. Then the next thing I'll do, I'll measure from this highest point. Now let me straighten this so you can see the level. So measure 5 inches down this way, then connect, then get the midpoint. The midpoint is like 10, okay, 11. The midpoint will be 5.5 mark. So here will be 2.75. Mark the midpoint. Mark the midpoint here also, 2.75. Then mark 1.5 inch. Then here half. Then here 2.5 mark. So I'll be connecting. Get to the mid of it. Go all the way down. So this is it. Then the next thing I'll do, the round sleeve here. Let's say we're using 10. We'll add 1.5. That will be 12.5. So I'll be connecting. Now, if you want to fit here a bit, you can get the midpoint of here and mark 1/2 inch, so that you connect and connect back, so that you won't have so much allowance here. So I'll be cutting. Now this is the sleeve, and these are all the pieces of the jacket. So we have our front piece. We have our back piece. Then we have the collar. So we have our back piece, we have our front piece, we have the sleeve, and we have the collar. And I would like you to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you keep getting quality content from us. And like and share the video so that other people can learn also. Thanks for watching.